Pakistani terrorists who have infiltrated. They actually moved into Samba. From Samba, they've gone to Rajouri, from Rajouri to Reasi, and now they've gone back to Rajouri, and they're hiding in the jungles in Rajouri. Now, this was staged at a bus carrying pilgrims from Shivkhori in Jammu and Kashmir's Reasi, just about 3-4 kilometers that it embarked on its journey. It was onward to Vaishno Devi. It has also sounded an alarm for the security agencies. The NIA has already taken over the investigation. It's on ground zero, looking at the various possibilities. But we are given to understand that top J&K police sources have said very clearly that there is a Pakistani hand to it. Multiple terror outfits first claimed responsibility, then retracted. Ultimately, it came down to the resistance front. But it's all nothing but, these are all names or assumptions of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. The instructions of Reasi-like attack had been given recently. Agencies have been working to corroborate this evidence. Tasking was done by the Lashkar commander Sajid Jatt. That's what police sources are telling us. Here at CNN News 18, courtesy our group editor security Manoj Kumar Gupta. Local Lashkar outfit TRF was tasked with the plot. Agencies probing prior info on the Yatri's travel route. Desperate attempt by terrorists to attack pilgrims, and Shivkhori temple was under the radar of terror groups. Security of the temple has been increased after intel input last month. But the larger question is, ladies and gentlemen, that they've moved towards the areas and the jungles of Rajouri to try and push for a certain level of guerrilla warfare. The other thing is, News 18 India has been reporting that these are Pakistanis. They are not Indian citizens. These are Pakistanis who have infiltrated, batch of about 16 terrorists who have infiltrated, about 3 to 4 of them. The eyewitnesses also confirming this. Shahzad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP, Kuldeep Khoda, former DGP J&K, Umar Talashi, spokesperson, Jammu and Kashmir National Congress. We Umesh Talashi in just a bit. Mr. Khoda, namaste and Jai Hind. Shahzad, thank you for staying on with us. Mr. Khoda, my question to you, sir. When they know that this movement is now happening in the Jammu region and they are using the jungles of Rajouri, could more have been done? Because our agencies have to get it right 10 on 10. The terrorists can get it wrong 9 times, but they need to get it right only once, and we lose innocent lives.
Now, the terrorists have been using Poonch and Rajouri border for over 2 years for infiltration, and they have been able to attack our security forces and civilians also in several incidents in the past. But because of the heavy density of forest area and the difficult terrain, the security forces, despite combing operations, have not been able to get in contact with them. But the deployment has been increased in the sector, and I'm sure that the security forces will get at them and neutralize them. But what is worrying is the Pakistan attitude of trying to activate the border, not only in Poonch and Rajouri. The Kathua border is also a target now, as per the intelligence inputs. And it appears that a group or two have already infiltrated from Kathua side also. And they are somewhere in Dudu Basantgarh sector now. Now, the aim of the terrorists is very clear. To target the minorities, especially like in this bus, it was known they were pilgrims. And obviously the initial attack was on the driver and the conductor, so that to make the targets immobile and attack them. The bus fell into gorge, because of which several more deaths took place. The point is that the game is on from the Pakistan side. They are not trying to decrease their efforts in activating the terror network again in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the Jammu region. So the mother of the source of the terrorism has to be tackled. What has been done on the ground, and terrorism is largely under control in Kashmir. And Jammu being a fresh area where they are trying to make inroads, we have to activate our OGW network to see, we have to target the OGW network and get the information. Moreover, we are trying to depend more as the technology is developing. We are trying to develop more and depend more and more on the technical intelligence.
Correct.
But what is important in this is that human intelligence is also extremely important.
Yeah, the human...
So, human intelligence and technical intelligence is going to give you results. That is what has been a success story of J&K police and the security forces in past several years in Jammu and Kashmir. So I think we need to have a rethink on the entire strategy to deal with the situation. And beyond that, in Kashmir also, we have to target the radicalization and putting a lid on something which is the undercurrents are there,
Right.
and the elections where the separatists got elected is also not a good sign.
Correct.
For the future.
But this extremist getting elected with Rashid Engineer or with Amritpal Singh or even Byan Singh's son. Now, this is a worrying trend, Shehzad Poonawalla. But the other thing is, I want to understand from you, do we do pest control once in 5 years, sir? Or do we wait for pests to get into our house, or we stop them from coming into our house? What should be the position? Or we deal with them once they have entered?
Anand, you would be the first.
Ji.
Anand, you would be the first one to acknowledge that post 2014, while I don't want to get into the tactical and strategic issues because that's in the domain of security forces, the template of response to terror has changed drastically under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. For instance, when 26/11 took place, and you'd remember every second or third week there used to be a terror attack. There was a terror attack in my city of Pune, which was never heard of. There was an attack in Jaipur, Delhi, Bengaluru, Hyderabad. Every possible city was targeted, civilian areas were targeted, and we used to pretty much wring our hands and say nothing can be done. In fact, give most favored nation status to Pakistan. And
Right.
from that, today we are in a situation where Pakistan even tries to do something like a Uri or a Pulwama, then they get a response in surgical strike or a Balakot airstrike. So the template of response, the attitude of our response to terrorism, a zero tolerance for terrorism has taken place, and therefore, even particularly after the abrogation of Article 370, whether it's stone pelting or whether it's incidents of terror, they have come down drastically. But of course, Pakistan and these agencies of terror are desperate, so they will continue to target sometimes innocent civilians, sometimes security
here's the thing.
forces. But having said that, the other issue that is of concern is the mainstreaming and legitimization of this entire terrorism narrative. And there is the problem. Today, when you took the mic and put it in front of the likes of Farooq Abdullah, not once did they condemn Pakistan unequivocally. In fact, just few days ago, Farooq Abdullah said, it's a very derogatory way of saying it, that Pakistan ne chudiyan nahi pehen rakhi hai. This legitimization of terror, we saw the entire campaign, Anand, you remember, 26/11 mastermind, the Kasab, not mastermind, but one of the operatives, Kasab, was in fact said that he was not responsible. The Congress party came and questioned and gave a clean chit to Pakistan on Poonch and Pulwama. So this legitimization and mainstreaming of the terror narrative is something that we need to look upon very seriously, and why it's being done in the name of vote bank.
We've got Mr. Talashi from Jammu and Kashmir National Conference. Yes, how would you want to respond to that? That mainstreaming and legitimizing of this proxy war and terror on Indian soil, trying to give cover fire to the Pakistanis. It's being done by mainstream political parties in Jammu and Kashmir. How do you want to respond to this allegation?
Statements. Well, I'm quite surprised with the statements of Shehzad Poonawalla Sahab, that despite accepting the failures of the government, despite putting the government accountable, they are still targeting the mainstream parties who have not been in power for last over a decade now. So it's quite surprising. They are still questioning them rather than counting it as a failure. Initially, we had seen these incidents happening across Kashmir. Now we have entire Jammu covered by these militant attacks. Every now and then, you say, be it security forces, be it civilians. So the killing spree is in continuity. It's not stopped yet. So rather than questioning, rather than accepting it as a failure of the government, they are still, shifting the blame and, in continuity that everything is hunky-dory in Kashmir, that tourists are coming in, tourists are going out. So rather than accepting it, they should accept it as a failure. They should accept it that BJP has not been able to control the terrorist activities. See, I accept that.
But the mainstream parties, Mr. Talashi, have also been very, very measured in when they have had to take a position against Pakistan and Pak-sponsored terrorism on Jammu and Kashmir, in Jammu and Kashmir. That is something that has not changed. there is still a hesitancy to call it a terror attack.
No, look, what I'll tell you.
There is
Look,
this whole
what
thing
I'll-
about trying
look,
to
I'll
call
tell
them
you.
gunmen or militants rather than saying they are terrorists and they are unwanted on Indian soil. There is no open, straightforward
Look,
condemnation. There is just condolence. We feel very sad. This should not have happened. But there is no calling out Pakistan and its proxy.
Look,
It
we
doesn't
are
happen.
not in power. Look, I'll tell you.
Whether you are in power or not, you have the power of the pen. When you have the power of the pen to put the government on account,
I'll answer your
you
question.
should put the enemy on account too.
I'll answer your question.
Ji.
When we were in power, we first of all, we never claimed that everything is normal in Kashmir. You go back to our statements back then. We never claimed that everything is hunky-dory in Kashmir. Everything is normal. We always said that.
No, but that is again a false narrative because the allegation
but
there is
again,
you
now,
never
when you-
wanted
when
things
you
to be
look at
normal
the
in Jammu and
statements-
Kashmir.
when you look at the
What I'm
statements
saying,
now,
Mr. Talashi,
look,
is
when
that
you
even
look at
now
the
the National
statements
Conference now,
the statements
the
are coming
PDP now.
that we have abrogated Article 370 and everything is
The
hunky-dory
issue
in
is not
Kashmir, which is
370 here.
Which
The
is
issue
not.
is
Doing
Pakistan.
cosmetic changes
The issue
to
is
the
calling
law
out
doesn't
Pakistan.
mean
The
that
issue
everything
is
is
calling
fair in
out
Kashmir.
Pakistan's proxy war, and that's not yet being done. Hold the government of the day to account.
Who is
Hold the Home
not?
Ministry to account.
We are there.
But
we are
the
always-
National Conference should be vocal.
Look,
I would
we are
like to
always
see
there. We've always been
the
saying,
National
do what
Conference
you-
leadership openly calling
Look,
for an
I'll tell
account
you,
of the
I'll tell
Pakistani
you.
bullets
National
that have
Conference
taken
has
the lives
been
of innocent
time
people of
and
Jammu
again-
and Kashmir.
Time and again,
Let there
National
be a statement
Look,
there.
Time and again, National
That would
Conference
be
has been
welcome.
saying
That would be
that
really welcome.
Do what you deem fit.
No.
Look, do what you deem fit.
Okay.
Let me tell this government on record. Do what you deem right, but stop these civilian killings.
Okay. Do what you
आपको
deem
war
right.
करना war करिए, आपको बात करनी है बात करिए, but let civilians not suffer. Do what
Okay.
you deem
So
right.
biggest statement that's come from the National Conference in the recent times is do what you deem fit. बात करना है बात करिए, लड़ना है लड़िए, खत्म करना खत्म करिए, बस ये जानों का जाना खत्म करिए, बंद करिए. I have to wind up on that note. Shehzad Poonawala, Mr. Khoda and Mr. Talashi. Thank you very, very much. We're going to wind up this edition of the Right Stand on that note. Brass tacks after a short break. Stay with us.